Previn Warren, Motley Rice, is a
celebrity.
And is a celebrity, but to lawyers, he's a real celebrity. He's a guy from Harvard, really, really hard law school to get into, hard college to get into. Every lawyer wants to know the Harvard guy. How do you go to Harvard and stick around for, whatever you were there for, 7 or 8 years?
Yeah, how do you survive it?
I'm sure everybody wants to know how to get into Harvard.
Yeah, I don't know how to get in anymore. I got to say, I'm raising kids of my own. I'm like, wow, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be able to get in these days. Yeah. It's so competitive.
You got into Harvard Law?
What, like it's hard?
Yeah, look, it was a great place to go to college and to go to law school. I met awesome people and, and then you see where your friends and your colleagues and classmates go off and what they become. And you're like, oh my God, that's crazy. They're actual celebrities, But yeah, I don't have great advice on getting in other than just work your tail off.
So what's it like? When you sit there, you got presidents and Supreme Court justices all came from your school. And listen, I love Syracuse University College of Law. I had a great experience there. We had to probably whip your ass in basketball. Had a lot of fun with that. But when you're sitting there, the kids you're sitting with are geniuses, judges and lawyers at the biggest firms. Every one of them is going to do something. I mean, I don't know. What's that like?
It's cool. It's hard not to be like insecure in an environment, right? Like that. But then you start to realize everyone's insecure, right? Like even because no one knows who they're going to become, right? They're all just classmates. Sure, someone's going to maybe wind up being president or Supreme Court justice or something. But in the moment, you don't know who that is. And you look around and you think everyone's smarter than you or has something going on that you don't have, but they all feel the same way. It kind of helps you get over that hump. And then, you just approach people like people and get to know them. And it gets a lot easier.
Now you're sitting here, you're running one of the most interesting litigations in the entire United States, no matter what side of the issue you're on, suing big tech and they're against you in some ways. And you think that they're harming kids. And that's the point you're at now. And if you want to know more about that, you can watch the half hour we just did all about your lawsuit. But how'd you get here? Give us a little timeline of Previn.
Yeah. It was a wild and winding path. So I graduated from college and all I wanted to do was play in a band. I wanted to be a professional musician. So I had my college band. I was the bass player. Moved to Brooklyn. This was like 2004. I moved with my band and we were deep in the Brooklyn rock scene and that's what we were going to do. And meanwhile, the music industry was like collapsing underfoot, right? So it wasn't actually going to happen for us. But we didn't know that. I had a non-traditional path to law school, right? And I got really interested in, music-related IP and legal issues and copyright and stuff. So, when the band did not hit it big and I did not become a multi-platinum recording artist like I wanted to, I did go to law school. Actually, from there, wound up getting back involved in a lot of music-related litigation as a young attorney. With a couple stops along the way, including clerking, which I can talk about, I wound up doing a lot of work for artists and songwriters and musicians, and I still do. So I was at a firm where I was defending the rights of songwriters and trying to increase the royalty rates that streaming services and other companies pay for songwriters, because I just think that artists get screwed and they don't get enough money, and it's impossible to be an artist. So, it turned out that a lot of that work was suing tech companies, because that's how you get your music. You're getting it from Apple Music or Google Play or YouTube or, iHeart. It kind of became apparent that I had a little bit of an expertise in suing tech and taking on tech companies. And so when this, lawsuit came around and when I was looking to switch to the plaintiff side full time, it was sort of a natural fit in some ways. Doesn't have anything to do with music, but it was still, adverse to tech and trying to take on some of these big forces. So yeah, that's my weird path to this.
That's awesome. Well, and the music part of it's interesting because, you remember like when Apple and all them just started happening, you would pay $1.29 for a song. Now you just pay like $10 a month and you have access to any song you want.
That's been awesome for consumers in a lot of ways because you can have the entire catalog of recorded music on your phone. It's pretty tough for artists though, right? I mean, because you're no longer buying an album and buying all the songs on the album. You can just stream the one song that you like, right? and that
Right.
winds up being a lot less compensation for artists. So it's gotten really hard to be like a middle class musician. You're either Taylor Swift and Lizzo,
Yeah.
or you're just completely like sleeping in a van. It's just tough to be in the middle, you know. And I know what it's like to be sleeping in a van as a working artist. So
Yeah.
I say that from experience.
So maybe the folks who call you and as plaintiff lawyer, people say, oh, sometimes you make a lot of money. You get to the end and you have clients and you get a contingency fee and you get these big recoveries. But what no one sees, what I know is you're going to work for years and years and years and years against the biggest, most well-funded defendants that there are. But so the people who may call you, the parents of children right now who have been injured, what does your day kind of look like between working with other lawyers and the things that you're doing? Like, what do you really do?
My son asked me that. He's like, what do you do? What do you do all day? It's a big mix. So when you're co-leading a giant litigation like this, I've come to learn that you certainly can't do everything, and you can't do most things. And a lot of what you have to do is lead and set this sort of strategic direction, right, for the litigation, and make kind of key decisions and judgment calls, and make sure everybody feels motivated and knows what they're doing. So, in a given day, I'm making, all kinds of decisions about, how we're going to negotiate with defendants, over discovery issues, over, legal strategy issues, what argument are we going to advance or not, and how are we going to do it? It'll shift as the case continues to move. I mean, once we're deep in depositions, there'll be more of that work. And then, of course, there'll be the expert and trial phase. But yeah, a lot of it is really about making judgment calls so that you're steering this giant battleship in the right direction, and so any like incremental angle you change, right? Like a year from now, it's going to go there instead of here. So that's what it's about.
People don't see the long hours all the time. And I guess what I would say is, as somebody who works with you, I appreciate the work that you're doing. I know that the team behind you, both at your firm and all these other firms, sometimes they get forgotten, and you're the lead counsel and your name's on all the documents, but it's an incredible project that goes on. The amount of hours to get to a courtroom to have a trial, maybe it's a year or two down the road. Everybody's going to see that day, but they don't see these days. They don't see the days of, sorting through millions of documents and trying to convince a judge to issue an order to give you another million documents where you might find that one that you use 2 years from now.
Oh, you're totally right. And the people I work with, the associates I work with, are truly like the hardest working, most dedicated attorneys with the most integrity, and are completely doing this for the right reason. And that's one thing I really love about the firm I work at. Everyone's here for the right reason. And, you said earlier about people thinking plaintiffs' lawyers as, huge contingency fee recoveries or whatever. Maybe that'll happen, maybe that won't happen on a case like this. But the point is, the people are working on it because they really, really care about the clients and they really want to see change. And that is kind of the attitude you need in order to put in those 12-hour, 13-hour days grinding it out, because you're doing it for a really good cause and for a really good reason.
Yeah, and I guess what I would say, we do a fair bit of that kind of stuff ourselves. And if you're trying to do it for the money, you can't stay motivated very long doing that. You have to believe in what you're working on and believe in the legal system and the justice system and your clients, the cause that you're advancing. And that's what allows you to work for 4 or 5 years, or, whatever, 3, 4, 5 years on a case like this.
Totally. And look, you're right. At this point, we're up against pretty much every big corporate defense firm you can name. Like Covington, Skadden, Williams and Connolly, Faegre Drinker, King and Spalding. That's just 5 off the top of my head, and there's 15 more. And those guys get paid by the hour. Win, lose, or draw. They're no matter what. And
they have tough clients. Their clients are the most well-funded clients in the world, and they are hired to aggressively advocate for those clients. And they've taken an oath, really, to advocate their position as hard as possible. And that's okay. And
Yeah, no, it is. It is okay. It's the system, and it's fine. I guess my point in terms of incentives, those guys are getting paid. They're getting paid billable hours, right? So they're just seeing all that money right up front. We're not. We don't see a dime potentially for years, and that's why you have to go in with the attitude of justice is my North Star, right? I'm doing this for the people. I'm doing this for my clients. I'm doing this to make change, because you as a firm and as a group of firms, you invest a lot in a project like this.
And you're investing your firm's money and in all these other firms' money. And the other firms are also trusting in you that you can move the case in a specific direction, to help people. But not only are you not seeing a dime, you're spending a lot of dimes along the way.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's totally right. It's totally right. But it's the right thing to do. So.
All right. I don't need to get too far down into the weeds of how MDLs work. We can cut this.
No, it's fine.
It's interesting for me, but I do think that the client sometimes it helps them understand just to say it out loud. This is, we're going to devote hours and hours and hours, whether it's 5 or 10 years of your life to try to get justice for one person and then everybody. When you step back and think about it, it's a beautiful thing that people don't really appreciate.
Or understand, and they have some preconceived notion, and this is shedding light on what really happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's service is the way I think about it. It's kind of sort of like working for the government in a way, right? You're doing something for a bigger cause, right? Yeah. There's a public service aspect to it.
There's going to be big rulings that come out of this case. Let's wrap it up here. I could talk forever, but yeah. I want people to watch what we talked about in the nuances of the social media lawsuit, but really, you're a young and aggressive lawyer that I think people will see more from. Not only in this case. This case is going to continue to gain traction over the next several years, and they're going to see your face on the news and all these things. And I'm sure there's going to be another case right after this one for you. Anything you want to close up with?
I guess I would just say this, right? This is a tough and demanding profession. You put in a lot of work, you put in a lot of hours. You don't always love every single day. Do something you believe in, right? Be intentional about the career you choose for yourself, and be intentional about the kind of lawyer you want to be. It's really easy to graduate from law school and just sign up for the first firm that, raises their hand or happens to recruit on campus for you. And then you wind up there for years or decades or your whole career. And, you wake up and you're like, what did I, is this really what I wanted? Take the time to just ask yourself, who do I want to be? What do I want to do with this toolkit I've got? It's a privilege to be part of the bar. It really is. It's a ton of work to get that credential and to be able to go and advocate in court and, decide what you really want to do with that and how you want to impact the world, because you can.
Love it. Great.
I love that.
Great way to end.
That's celebrity energy right there. So.
Yes.
All right, cool. I like that. Yeah. Hey, thank you guys for doing this. This is cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.